Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Walking Dead. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're picking up in the aftermath of everything that went down in the apartment building. Obviously, Hornsby showed up along with his crew, which also includes Daryl, and he's asking the only two survivors of this whole situation that were sent here, Gabriel and Aaron. Now, Aaron and Gabriel, they know not to trust anyone with this situation. They know definitely not to trust Hornsby, considering he's the one that kind of put this all in motion. But I don't know if they know that specific, because I don't know how much they know about who's behind all this. They know they can't trust the Commonwealth, but I don't know if they know for sure specifically Hornsby they can't trust. I mean, they're going to know trusting everyone in general, but definitely not Hornsby. I don't know if they know that specifically he's the one that gave Home Dude last episode, the past two episodes, the go ahead to do all the stuff that he did. So he was on, basically, Hornsby had him on the leash and everything. So, but they know not to say anything. It's like, right, we barely escaped. And luckily, even without communication, your boy Daryl's like, yeah, if they said that's what happened, that's what happened. Because Daryl, you could tell when he was looking down at the crimes, and when he's looking at everything, he's like, yeah, something doesn't seem right here. I think Daryl's pretty intuitive, and, you know, his skills are picking up on things, so he's probably figuring it out already, like, all right, this is kind of some backward stuff, and whatever whatever Gabriel and Aaron have said is like, I'm going to back them up. And Hornsby knows he doesn't have any evidence, which I'm surprised you're even bothering waiting for evidence. But I guess it's like, right, you guys aren't going to break, so I'll have to track down the people responsible for this. Anyway, they're the ones who killed my men and everything, so we'll have to go to Hilltop. It's like, right, we won't return to the Commonwealth. Let's go to the Hilltop. There's killers out here. We got to warn them. So even more so, when he's saying, let's go to Hilltop, you can tell Daryl already knows, like, all right, so they're probably hiding out at Hilltop, so we got to go there. Even the fact is that he had Daryl, well, it was mainly him trying to get Aaron and Gabriel to, like, fight all those walkers, and they didn't break a sweat. Obviously, Daryl helped. That was a pretty sweet move, like, taking two down at once with a single shot like that was pretty impressive. I'm curious, what was Hornsby trying to gain from that, though? I don't know whether it's a situation of he's trying to see whether they're really as skilled as they claim to be. Because he had his smile across his face, but also he had his frown, because I guess he was trying to have a better understanding of what happened at that scene. Like, right, these random people just happen to kill people that are really good, but then he sees how good Aaron and Gabriel are, so he's like, right, you probably had some hand in it as well, because he had pointed out the fact is that these couldn't have been just some random people that killed his people. These had to be people potentially that Aaron and Gabriel knew for them to potentially let them go, because like, why would they let you go unless there were people you knew? So he's piecing it together. He's got the picture laid out, he just doesn't know. Like, either he's under the belief, like, oh, the people here who stole our guns are people you knew, and that's why you're trying to protect them. And even more so, like, right, where's a nearby place that they could go to hide out? Hilltop, that's one of your other friends and allies, so. Hornsby rolls up, and Maggie's like, no, but luckily, Daryl's the one that says, let us in. Like, you don't even have to trust him, trust me. Because he didn't want nobody to get shot, did he? No one to die, so. Once again, that bastard Hornsby already had an idea that they were guilty. I think he was just looking for any opportunity and excuse. Because, like I said, I feel weird that he even bothers with proof, but he needs it, because if he doesn't have their cooperation, like, he can at least justify by being like, right, they lied to us, so that's why we had to take the actions we did. Also, we kind of need you alive so that we can eventually find the people from that apartment building later, if need be, so. I love that whole truck situation. Him like, oh, we saw some tire tracks too. Interesting. Oh, look, this one thing is disabled. He's like, I'm very good with cars and stuff. He's like, oh, let's see if it cranks up. I was like, please don't crank, please don't crank. And it didn't. I'm like, yeah. And the look on his face, I was like, there you go, you little smug bastard. So I guess they did that to make it seem that way he doesn't look deeper for whatever real issue is going on. I wonder that someone else who's probably pretty good at cars probably pulled something else apart, because whatever it was, he must not be that great. I even love that he's like, oh, let's see if I got the magic or whatever. And the moment it didn't crank, I was hoping Maggie would be like, guess you don't have the magic after all. But she was like, no, you and your people have until like sundown and you gotta leave. So, because she was nervous, because even she wasn't expecting, she was kind of scared if it did crank, but luckily, whoever it was took precautions. So I'm like, oh yeah, make that bastard sweat a little, make him like feel so, he's feeling himself, think he's got his all figured out, that he's got the proof he needs. The moment this cranks, it gives him the justification, like, oh, I got you figured out, but it's like, nope, you smug bastard, not quite. Then he had the audacity to confront Herschel. And I was like, is Herschel going to crack? It's like, no, there's too many people's lives at stake here. There's also a part of me that was like, the moment he was at the graves, I was figuring he was visiting his dad as well as other people who died. But there's a part of me that's wondering, like, did they bury, like, the others, like, knew it was only a matter of time before they showed up. So I was like, they didn't have enough time to cover those up, because I feel like they would have noticed if those graves were disturbed or something, or freshly dug. So, part of me was wondering, I'm like, could they be buried underneath, like, either with other bodies, or the fact is that Herschel was there checking on it, but it could just be him visiting his dad's grave. And with everything going on, it's just like, right, things could turn super sideways here, and there could be more death. But him to confront Herschel like that, like, right, I want the only way I can make sure your mom is okay and everything, like, trying to use him like that. But Herschel's not stupid. He's like, yeah, I better go get my mom. Because I think a lot of what Negan said last episode, like, right, I might deserve to die, but what about the rest of these people? I think a lot of what Negan said last episode sat with Herschel, and he's like, right, if I tell them what these people are, they're going to end up dead, and it's like, I can't, like, I've got to do the right thing and help these people. It's what my mom wants to do, and that's what I'm going to do. So, but he's also corners Herschel, and he's like, oh, this hat I found at one of the vehicles where everything bad happened. It just happens to fit you. I was like, oh boy. Luckily, Elijah shows up and puts him in his place, and it's just like, yo, he had his hands on Herschel. And I love that, like, Maggie's ready to put him down. It's like, most people who threaten my family end up dead. The only person who hasn't ended up dead is Negan. He might be the only person alive that's threatened her family that's still alive. I've caused them harm in any shape or form too, you know? But luckily, it's like, right, you didn't find anything here, so it's time to leave. And he's like, fine, yeah, sure. Let's get out of here. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry about that, Maggie. He's like, I thought we could be friends. Oh, well, it's just like, oh, like, yeah, this is kind of like the warning shot. The fact is, next time, we're going to have issues. I know that I can't trust you as an ally. I hope we were going to be able to be friends, but you can tell from Maggie's, I never trusted you bastards from the beginning. You just reconfirmed all that we already knew about you. So it's like, Hornsby, you sneaky, slimy, weaselly bastard. So, but the moment they found something later on in the episode, I'm like, did they find the others? I'm like, or did they find Leah, who is camping nearby? So, and the conversation with Hornsby, he's like, oh, I've been looking everywhere for you. I'm like, wait, did you know that the people in the apartment had nothing to do with that? Was that just an excuse for subjugation? Like, you had no, like, they weren't the main target? Or did you actually, that's what I'm curious, like, is he just saying, like, oh, we've been looking for you? Either he didn't expect to find Leah and he expected to find someone else, probably expected to find someone from those apartments, or maybe someone that he knew who's connected to these groups, but then he finds Leah, he's like, oh, wow, and he's willing to offer her a job. I can only assume it's like, I want you to be my new, my go-to right-hand guy, died last episode, so I need you to fill that void. I need you to hunt down these other people, which she'll gladly do. Why? Because she has a vendetta against Maggie and them. So eventually her and Daryl are going to cross paths. I think it might be Maggie, but I'm pushing more so towards it's going to be Daryl. That's going to be the problem. I think he's going to, like, Hornsby's going to give her a unit, and it's like, right, she's got the military training and tactics know-how, and it's like she's got revenge in her heart, so she's the perfect person for Hornsby to do all this for. But that's what I'm curious about. Like I said, that line of dialogue got me where he's like, oh, we've gone through a lot to find you. So either that's just he talking about recently, like after you stole the guns is all that is, in the regards of we knew it was someone else the entire time. We just kept up the front like it was the person, the people at the apartment. Or maybe it's just I'm not quite sure what to really make of that. Is my point. I was like, how long has he been looking for Leah? Did he know he was even looking for Leah? Not that he knew her name, but he knew there was someone outside of all of this responsible. We'll have to wait and see, but he continues to be the opportunist that he is, finding because it is about bolstering his situation. It's about the Commonwealth, but at the end of the day, it's about him. Got to make sacrifices for the greater good, because he's trying to position himself with everything that he secretly got bubbling beneath the surface at the Commonwealth. You know, he's planning a very hostile takeover, whether it's just, oh, I'm going to arrest Pamela and she's going to just be a figurehead, like the face of it, but I'm going to be the real one in charge. I don't know if that's what he plans to do, or what he straight up plans on killing Pamela and Sebastian, because he sides with someone. Like, he was like, oh man, it's fine that, oh, someone finally got that money. He made that point last episode. So I don't know if he plans on, like, not unless he's going to remove Pamela from the equation, put Sebastian in the figurehead because didn't he talk about that, or am I conflicting this with something else? That he wants Sebastian in that seat because that way, oh, like Sebastian gets the power, prestige, and position, whereas Hornsby is the real one in control, and Sebastian just ends up being a figurehead. Because I feel like you need a Milton at the forefront for people to feel comfortable. So I'm assuming this is going to end with them. I'm leaning more towards thinking Pamela's going to end up dead. Maybe Sebastian's going to be a little more okay with that. I figure it'd probably be easier just to arrest her and lock her up forever type of thing. But I get the feeling like that's what it is. And then Hornsby's like, yo, I'll just whisper in Sebastian's ear how I think the Commonwealth should be run. Especially because he's tired of being under his mom's thumb. He finally got money after his mom cut him off, right? So we'll see what Hornsby's grand scheme and plan is in the long run, because we've only got inklings of like some of the deeper, seedier sides of things that exist in the Commonwealth, because it isn't the place that everyone thought it was. But even Daryl was saying, like, right, we can't go back to the Commonwealth, and he was talking to Gabriel and Aaron about it. So it's like, right, at the very least, if we can find the guns, it'll pull them off the trail of the others who escaped. Sadly, they already know where the guns are now because Leah has them, and now they're working with Leah, so that's not going to go their way. We'll see how that all turns out, but the Hilltop is not in a good position to defend whatever assault Leah might be heading in the direct direction. Not less, I'm under the impression that Leah's going to lead a charge against that. I'm assuming that's where like my mentality is, that it's got to be that. Not less it's kind of something more Commonwealth related. I think, not less it ends up being a twofold thing of like, cool, I need your help. I want to hire you to handle all of this. But then also when we get back to the Commonwealth, I'm going to need your help to handle things there too. So we shall see. Because the sad thing is, a lot of their people, Alexandria Hilltop, their people are in the Commonwealth, so they could be kind of held hostage as well, so that complicates things. Then on top of that, we circle back to the Commonwealth. We had the conversations between Rosita. I don't know how much Eugene, it doesn't seem like he's talked about the whole Stephanie circumstances yet, but things at the Commonwealth are getting ugly, so I'm surprised he hasn't brought that up, that, oh, Hornsby is up to something suspicious, but at the same time, he doesn't really know too much. Like, I don't think it will really add any more to what's already there. I feel like it's an important thing to know, but maybe in the grand scheme of things, Eugene feels like, it's not really worth knowing. So they go to the people, Kelly and Connie, who are, running the paper. Granted, obviously, they're just reporters. They still have to get this through their boss. They could secretly run it, but, I mean, it's too important to know. The people of the Commonwealth deserve to know. So the boss might co-sign it. She might squash it. We'll have to see. But they're going to need some insider help, and Eugene turns to Max as Mercer's sister, well, Michael, as we know. I don't know if this is the first time his name's ever come up before. But because of that, we she has access to information, and so Eugene tells her about what ended up happening a little bit last episode because of Sebastian. And it seems like Max is aware of some of the antics of what Sebastian gets up to, not to this extent, because it is a thing of because Kelly and Connie, they got that list of names last episode. Not last episode. Was that? No, it was the episode before last, I believe. And it turns out the woman who died last episode, April, her name is on this list. But it's like, whoa, there's way more people on this list than the people that potentially died getting that money from that place. So the question then becomes, are these people all mixed up in something else too? I'm assuming that's all related, once again, to Hornsby's like thing. Like that soldier that got in trouble, the one who kind of disappeared. I'm assuming that's like the Hornsby situation, and obviously the fake Stephanie. Like all of this is tied together, like all part of his schemes that I think a lot of the Commonwealth. There is good in the Commonwealth, but there's also, like anything, there's a dark side to everything, so. Obviously, this whole situation has put Mercer in a complicated position. Obviously, we've seen that things between him and Princess have escalated. You're like, oh, that's so cute. It's like, yeah, but I've had a lot of sex. She's like, no, I don't. She's like, well, we've been we're adults. I've had a lot of sex. You've had a lot of sex. And I think that is a very healthy approach to it. Like, right, we realize that we're not each other's first. And I mean, I'm sure we've both lived our lives and had quite a few experiences. But Princess is trying to get him to open up because obviously there's a lot weighing on his mind. Everything last episode is there. And later on, he ends up opening up to her and kind of confiding in about what it is. And first and foremost, he ended up, it's like, right, I killed 2 of my own men. My parents raised me a certain way. There are certain lines I never thought I would cross. I think for him, it feels like a betrayal to the people he's in charge of. These are my men. I'm responsible for them. But what really kicks him in the teeth, and because this kind of combines with the conversation he ends up having with Max, because Max confronts him to do something. I mean, everyone in the Commonwealth looks to you because you're their guardian, their protector. You up here on these posters. She's like, is that all you are? Just a poster? What about the man that you're supposed to be? And so he's in this complicated space of, all right, some sacrifices are necessary because he's going to have to let all that stuff that Sebastian was up to, all those deaths, they have to just be forgotten and buried. Because if even if I try to like confront Sebastian, like what's going to happen? I'm going to disappear. Then who's going to protect everyone else? He's played his role in making sure that the Commonwealth is what it is. And just like any place, there's good for evil. So yes, there's a lot of good here, but it comes with some sacrifices. There's some bad that kind of ends up being along that way. So you kind of have to accept that that's kind of the price to pay for at least some semblance of the old world. And it's like, yeah, you think just because this is new that it's any different. It's like, no, it's just like the old world too, that for there to be good, you have to, make some compromises and do some evil, some bad. So for him, it's like the greater good of what's here, what's established. Protecting that comes first and foremost because that is his job. And he's held himself to that standard for so long. But it leaves him conflicted because he knows what's wrong here. And Max is almost implying like, right, maybe you should be the leader. But he doesn't consider himself that person because at the end of the day, he is a soldier and he's just a person who follows orders. Despite all that, he does try to do the right thing a lot. But once again, that involved killing his men. But that was just to, he was for one angry first and foremost because it's like, I'm supposed to be top dog here in the regard of keeping this place safe, knowing the ins and outs of it. This whole thing has been going on for God knows how long underneath my nose, this whole Sebastian thing, and that's what rubs him the wrong way. Like, those people's deaths, that is on me to carry, not you, Max, because it's my responsibility to look after this community, and I was unaware, I was blind to what was happening, so I have to carry that guilt with me, so. And like I said, at the same time, he opens up to Princess about all of this. And not really sure what to do, but Princess is like, right, how about we go inside and we figure it out together. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see what Mercer decides to do in the end, because he's going to end up making choices. His sister's already made hers, because at the end of the day, she was hoping that her and, Eugene could just keep their heads down low, avoid getting in trouble, and she could just have life go back to normal. But for her, it's like, no, there is no choice because there is no going back to normal. We know what we know now, and there's no backing out. She wants to do what is right. She wants to help however she can. And Eugene's like, right, no matter what comes, hell or high water, you got me by your side. We'll see. You won't have to face whatever truths lie ahead alone. And they end up kissing, and it's like, ah, you know? That's, hopefully it's like, yeah, it's not going to be a double bluff of Max isn't who she claims to be. It's like, no, I'm sure she is. And it's just like, you're just hopeful, like, hopefully everything works out. But once again, it is The Walking Dead. There's so much room and opportunities for things to go super sideways and for things to end depressingly. With the nature of this series, the nature of this universe, I mean, even spoilers, even with the exception of kind of like the post-credit stuff, in general, the World Beyond ended on a depressing note, but also a very uplifting and hopeful note as well. More so hope, but there's certain depressing aspects of it. I get the feeling like this show might be that way as well. I'm not well versed in the comic. I know some of the details of how the comic ends, but I don't know. I feel like that's probably a little more uplifting and rather less depressing. Maybe not. I don't know. So, all that's going on. Plus, you have to add in everything with Carol, who's in a complicated position. She's doing all this stuff with Hornsby, which she now knows Hornsby is who he is, but she kind of owes him favors because of all the stuff with Ezekiel, so... Which he is getting better. He's in recovery and after everything. And I was going to call her Cheryl. Carol is keeping him at a distance because she doesn't want him wrapped up and him to pay the price for all the stuff that she might have to do. She did a lot of stuff she isn't proud of and being mixed up in a lot of stuff she's not proud of for the sake of helping a friend and someone that she cares about. So, but Ezekiel kind of forces the situation. He kind of goes to Yumiko's brother to kind of get him to help outside of the hospital again, which he's like, we'll get in trouble. And yeah, but he does have a little bit of that streak inside of him where he's not afraid to get in trouble. In fact, he kind of, gets a little bit of a thrill from it. And obviously he's like, yeah, you can ask my sister. She'll tell you better than anyone that I've kind of had that in me. But they end up getting caught, and I was like, it seemed like this was all Ezekiel's plan, but it's because he's like, right, all I had to do was drop Carol's name. He might not know her new position and job and stuff, but he had a pretty good enough idea to drop her name to know, hey, you're going to help out. But it's like, hey, this way I force you off of work, and I get to show you what I've got. And I love that when they get there, like, Yumiko's brother's like, wait, don't tell me my patient isn't actually human, but the veterinary setup is to cover up a real outside of the Commonwealth hospital of sorts, because they're taking care of people who don't have the means necessary to get the help they need in the Commonwealth. So they're getting it outside of that, and with Yumiko's brother's help, they're able to do that. The person who has, appendicitis, they ended up being able to kind of deal with that this episode, luckily. And it all kind of worked out. I did love the conversation that Ezekiel and Carol have, because Ezekiel was referencing he wants to do good with the time that he's been given. Now that I've had this extended life, I got to put it to good use. And this whole thing is kind of his baby, his project that he's kind of gotten going. It's like, I'm going to take this opportunity, this new lease on life I've been given, and make good use of it because my friend gave me more time, so I need to make the most of it. And he wanted to show her first and foremost. And for her, she's like, despite all the darkness in your life, you continue to be this light. And I love that Ezekiel was saying, like, right, that light kind of comes from us, that you yourself can be that light too, Carol. Which I even love that line from her being like, what was it? We're still not getting back together, right? And they can't help but laugh. And he's like, yeah, you say that now, but, we'll see. So I think it's just the weight of everything was kind of weighing on Carol, just like it was Mercer, about what to do, what you've done to get what you have, even helping Ezekiel out, what she had to do that. So to be in a position that she's in, I think it kind of sparked a little bit of hope and light in her, and that even under these very dark times, I mean, and it's happened time and time again, that light has always found a way to shine through, even when they've all been in the most desperate and darkest situation. And this might be heading into the darkest situation they've been in with all this Commonwealth stuff. And so we'll ultimately have to wait to see how it all plays out. The next episode is the second mid-season finale, the finale for part B of this season. So we're already done with the second. Next episode will mean the end of the second third of the final season. So, which is kind of that's quite a sentence. The second third of the final season. But regardless, I'm excited to see how part B of this season wraps up and what this means and what it sets up for the final 8 episodes of the series. It's going to be wild to see how this all plays out. Once again, you always have to brace yourself for, I get the feeling like it could potentially be depressing. We shall see. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good